Hey guys, welcome on in. This week for our 3-part series, we are going to be talking about labels. Yes, you heard me right, labels. Okay, now I know what you're gonna say, Sam, we don't use those anymore, but you do. Oftentimes when I think about labels, I think maybe back to older days where they would classify people as a jock or a cheerleader or a nerd, a band geek, blah, 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 so on. Okay, now we may not say those words out loud, but we define people, we label ourselves. Truth is, what people label you as doesn't really matter, okay? And I know that you guys know this. I know that there's this church answer that only God's label matters, blah, blah, I know, okay? But we are going to dig a little bit deeper into it because I bet that if you really took a step back and looked at your life, you define yourself a lot, and a lot of your life depends around that one label. Okay, but here's the secret to this. These labels that other people give you, or even maybe a label that you've given yourself because of something that has happened, is defined by something so small in your life that it's really insignificant. Maybe it's a small mistake that you made, and so now that has defined your life. Maybe it's a joke that you said, and so now that label has defined your life. Maybe it is something that happened at school or with your parents, and that small little moment in time has then given you a label. Most of the time, they're labels that we don't like, but we allow them to control us, okay? Labels, if we let them, and I would guess that you guys probably do, define all of us. They define what we do, how we act, who we talk to, our friends, even the way that we dress. It's true, and I bet if you really looked at it, you would see that it is true for your own life. Okay, but this week we are going to be talking about how God can change all of that. And labels may not seem like this big, serious thing that we really need to look at and that we really need to peel away, but they are. When you let them control your whole life, you can miss out on a lot of things. You can miss out on what God has for you. And we don't want that, because God's label for you, over you, is blessed. God's label over you is loved. God's label over you is redeemed. It doesn't matter what other people say about you. Okay, there's a woman that we're gonna talk about, and our scripture this week we're gonna focus on is Mark 5:24 through 34. Okay, spoiler alert, you know this story. It's about the woman with the issue of blood. Okay, she had a label. And you can probably ask him, this doesn't really relate to me. But it does, okay? This woman had been cast out from her society. This woman had been cast out and labeled by people. Everyone, you included, myself included, have been labeled by other people. Whether or not we want to admit it, it is true. We have been labeled by people. And she let this label define 12 years of her life. Okay, so think about that. Those of you who are in 6th grade right now, okay, you're 12 years old. That means you would stay with that label until you were 24. That's a whole decade. That's longer than a decade. That's not okay. Okay, but she got into the Word and she found God, and God erased that label for her. And so that's what we're gonna do. All right, so before we go, that's your homework for this week. I want you to read Mark 5:24 through 34. 10 verses. It won't take you that long. Okay, when we come back tomorrow, we're gonna read that and we're really gonna dive into it. All right, so do your homework, come back and see us tomorrow.